Hello, hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Soul Good. I'm Amber Marie, and this is your December 2022 Collective Tarotscope. If you are curious about the decks that I'm using today, you can find a list of them in the description box below. You can also find links to my social media accounts, as well as links to information on personal readings and the Soul Good membership channel on Telegram. I would like to remind you that this is a general reading, not a personal reading, so please only take what resonates with you and leave the rest. I would also like to share with you that there will be a timestamp in the description box below if you would choose to bypass any shuffling. Completely up to you. Doesn't matter to me either way. All right, we're going to be taking a look at what we are working to release or integrate through the month of December, how this might show up, and then we're going to be getting some guidance for us as we move forward. So let's jump in and see what we have going on for us. Please, Father, Mother, Life, Universe, Spirits, Guides, Angels, our cosmic team, our ancestors, our higher selves. What are we working to release or integrate throughout the month of December 2022, please? What are we working to release or integrate through the month of December 2022? What are we working to release or integrate through the month? Okay, thank you. The month of December 2022. Thank you. Beautiful. Beautiful. I love what's come out so far. How might this show up for us, please? Okay. How might this show up for us, please? How might what we are releasing or integrating show up for us for this month? How might this show up for us for this month, please? How would you? Okay. Thank you. Can we please have some guidance or advice for us moving forward? Okay. Okay. I just feel like those are it. It's like, yeah, these are the ones. Okay, let me just move these to the side and we will jump right in. So before I flip these cards over, I do want to share with you that I set the intention that if we are meant to be releasing whatever archetype shows up, then it's going to be in the reverse or shadow attribute position. If we're meant to be integrating these things, it is going to show up in the upright or light attribute position, okay? So let's see. We have visionary here in the light attribute or upright position. Capacity to envision what is not yet conceivable to others. Willingness to proclaim a vision without regard for personal gain. So what's really interesting about this, friends, is the fact that December is a universal 9-month. Okay, and what this means is that we are in a transitionary period, first of all. Second of all, for this month in particular, there is this energy of essentially being of service to others. Okay, so I find it incredibly fascinating that we have this visionary card showing up here. Okay, and what I feel like we're integrating this month is the courage to stand in what we are able to feel, what we're able to perceive that again is not yet able to be conceived by others, right? Like I feel, yeah, it feels to me like there's this energy of more and more of us being encouraged to really step forward and to declare through the fear, because I am getting fear, right? To declare, even though we may be afraid or fearful, to stand in our conviction and say, this is what I feel to be true. This is what I see, right? Again, that visionary. Like, I feel like this is coming out in so many different ways, right? Like, I feel like you'll have people who could be experiencing like God has been speaking to me, or angels have been speaking to me, or spirit has been speaking to me, almost like prophetic word, right? I feel like some could come forward with this, or you may see a rise in this happening, right? People stepping forward who are willing to proclaim these things, express these things, to stand in their conviction of these things without fear, right? Like, I feel like they're going to be those who are pushed more towards expressing these things. And I feel like it's probably going to be people that you would never fucking imagine. Like, very similar to, um, the apostles that Jesus chose. Like, they essentially were, nobodies from nowhere, who, like, why would you choose them? Right? And I feel like these are going to be those people. I feel like those people are going to be encouraged to step out, to integrate this energy, that courage, right? Um, if they don't step out, I feel like there could be this push to do so, right? Like this need to integrate that energy, to understand, like, I have the ability to see things and to feel things that others may not be able to understand, but I'm okay with that, right? Like, I'm okay with expressing that this is what I feel to be true, right? And a lot of that, I feel, is connected to us honoring ourselves, honoring our own truth, regardless of what anybody else fucking says or does, right? Um, which I feel is, again, like, moving us closer and closer to this soul sovereignty and freedom type of energy that I've been picking up in my membership readings for months, right? As we move towards, 2023. Right? It's been showing up for months. Like, we're moving into this energy of soul sovereignty, soul freedom. And I feel like this is just one aspect of that we're addressing right before we move into this new energy. So fucking fascinating to me. And I love this because, again, it, for me, is this push to really honor ourselves, honor our truth. And I think it's so important for us to learn how to trust ourselves, to learn how to honor ourselves, to put that at the forefront, because so many of us have neglected our true desires, our true wants, our true path, our true needs for the sake of what other people think, right? Which is fascinating because I'm just going to read this to you. In the shadow or reverse position, it says here, compromising your vision to make it more acceptable, right? Which is what I feel we're not doing that. No, what we're integrating is, this is my truth and it is what it is. I'm not going to make it smaller so that you can, how do I word it? I'm not going to make it smaller to suit your palate, right? So that's easier for you to digest. No, this is my truth and this is what it is, right? And there's also this, I'm just sharing what I'm sharing because I feel like others need to know, right? Because it does have selling insights to the highest bidder. So, you're not selling what you feel is going to happen to the highest bidder. You're not selling out. No, you're sharing it because it needs to come out, right? And I feel like this is part of that, like, great awakening. This is part of that move or shift to a higher way of being, right? I love this so much. And I can't wait to see how this manifests through the month. Like, I will probably fall the fuck over if all of these people start showing up, stepping out into this visionary type of energy that we've just been speaking on. Right? Like, this is what God's been telling me. This is what this has been telling me. This is what I feel to be true. Right? Like, I just see more and more people stepping out in truth with zero fucks given about what anybody else thinks. And I am so here for it, right? Like, and I mean this, like, in the sense of, if you're not doing harm to anyone else and you're simply sharing your truth, I am so fucking here for it, right? I'm not saying like this is like a free pass to be, mean or nasty or jerkish or, any of that to people because it's what you feel your truth is. Like, no, 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 no. That's not what I'm saying. Right? For those who are like, this is my truth, and I feel like I need to share this with people because I feel like it's important, right? For me to stand in my truth. Like, I'm totally here for people standing in their truth, for people sharing what they feel to be true, regardless of what anybody else thinks. As long as they're not hurting anybody, you know what I mean? Like, do no harm type of thing. So fucking here for it. And again, like, zero fucks given. Like, I don't care if you think I'm crazy. I don't care if you think that I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Like, I really don't care. This is my truth, and I'm sharing that. And I love this so much. Okay. We also have here the divine child. So also in the upright, or light attribute position, which means we are integrating this energy as we move through the month, right? Innocence, purity, and redemption suggest a special connection with the divine. Are you serious? Like I was saying when we first started this reading and started talking about this visionary card, right? There's this element of, like I was saying, people sharing like prophetic word, like God was telling me this, right? And isn't it fascinating that this would show up, suggest a special connection with the divine, right? I feel like you are going to have these people showing up who maybe no one would have fucking expected or anticipated, showing up to declare, like, I have this relationship with God and this is what God has been saying. Like, I feel like you will see this happening more and more and more, especially with those who are sinking into that relationship with God, the creator, universe, source, the divine, whatever name you want to call it. I don't care. Whatever. I just feel like more and more people are going to be stepping forward saying, I have this connection with the divine. This is what I'm experiencing, and I'm sharing it, regardless of what anybody else thinks about it at all. And we're integrating this courage, right? Integrating this. I mean, for some, you guys, I really feel like this is like a sense of like duty, right? Like a sense of, these are things I feel like I need to do. Like, I feel called to share this, right? And it's interesting because I'm seeing this as like obedience to, God or source or universe, your intuition, your higher self, right? And many who have experienced being obedient to that have experienced life in a much different way than those who've been resistant to it. I don't know about you, but there have been many times where my intuition is like, you probably shouldn't do that. And then I do it anyways. And I'm like, fuck. Yep. As things play out, it's like, you're right. I should have listened. Or something as simple, you guys, is like, hey, take your sunglasses before you leave. And you're like, nah, it's really cloudy. I don't think I'm going to need them. Then you're out and about doing your things in the world, and boom, sunlight. And you're like, crap. I should have grabbed my sunglasses. Similar thing, but like being obedient, right? Like, I just feel like there's this almost like a redemption in the sense of, I've been disobedient in the past. I have kept these things to myself. I have, been afraid of them or what have you. And now I'm feeling called to move with them. Like, I'm no longer fearing them. I'm getting this fear energy, but it's like stuck in my throat. Right? So there's been this like block. And I feel like it's been this fear of like persecution, been this fear of ridicule, been this fear of, rejection, being called crazy, all those sorts of things. And I feel like this month it's like, no, we're not fearing that anymore. We're not fearing it anymore. We are moving forward. Right? We're integrating this relationship that we have with the divine, with our creator, with source, with whatever you want to call it, the universe, right? And we are choosing to move in a way that feels conducive to our growth, not only as individuals, but as a collective. Because again, I feel like there are going to be so many more people who are awakening to that need to help, because it's about like essentially service to others, right? Service to something larger or grander than self, which is like reigniting this passion, this inspiration, this ambition within people. And I'm fucking here for it, you guys. I'm totally here for it. So how might this show up? So we have here the Nine of Cups, which is interesting because the Nine of Cups, if you can read that, I'm not sure if the glare will permit you to, but if you can read that, it says material happiness with the Nine of Cups, okay? Because it's that representation of like satisfaction, luxury, right? It can often be emotional stability in the upright, but we're looking at it in the reverse, right? Which says to me, there's this dissatisfaction with life. There's this lack of true joy, right? And so, how might this show up? Well, I feel like if you're not following that path that you're called to, I feel like it's going to show up as you feeling fucking empty, you feeling dissatisfied with life, you feeling a lack of true joy. I feel like you will be searching for that, right? I also feel like there could be some who are kind of smug in the sense of like, you know, you have these visionaries, these divine children who are speaking out, sharing what they feel to be true, right? And this kind of smugness, like you don't know what you're talking about, like I've got it figured out. Okay, but do you really? Because you're fucking dumping your cups on the ground, type of thing. I definitely feel like, again, if you're moving against this, you will feel an overall dissatisfaction with life, an overall lack of joy. Like, I feel like things that once brought you happiness, like the material things, will no longer suffice. That's how I'm getting this. Because it's like there's something bigger at play here. There's a higher calling at play here. And if you are unwilling to acknowledge that and address that and move in that space, the things that you once thought were bringing you fulfillment are no longer going to be enough. If they are enough as it is, which I doubt, by the way. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Well, we're just pulling out all the stops, aren't we? So we have here the Death card as well. And it's in the upright. So what does that tell me? That tells me that I feel like this could show up, especially like, okay, so I'm getting this two ways. First of all, I feel like this could show up in the sense of like a death and rebirth. You may see some who were like one way. Maybe they were all like anti-psychic, you know, I don't know, prophet, like stuff like that. You may witness them go through like this cycle of death and rebirth where all of a sudden their whole like everything changes, right? Like where you're like, holy shit, like where, I don't know you. Where's the person that I knew, right? You may experience it in that way. Like I feel like there's some who, you know, once found happiness in the material things who are suddenly going to be like, no, right? Like you may witness that part of themselves dying, right? Like where material things provided happiness for them, you may witness a death within them, like that's no longer sufficing. Okay. There is also this other element here where if people are being resistant to their higher calling, whatever that is, they're like, I feel they could experience like this loss and grief, right? Because here's the Nine of Cups in the reverse, which is essentially saying like you are dissatisfied with life, right? You are not feeling fulfilled. Okay. And that death card, right, can be that representation of, you know, like a loss, experiencing loss. But, you know, the death card is really about that beginning of a new cycle, crossing this threshold, essentially going through a transformation where you are reborn. So, I feel like for some, even if you are somebody who has been open to being this visionary, open to being this divine child, I feel like through the month of December, you could be experiencing, look, I mean, even here we have this 9. And what was I saying, right? Like the month of December is the universal 9 month. So again, like transitions taking place where things are shifting, right? You, even if you weren't somebody who maybe necessarily was, satisfied with their, or found happiness in material things, maybe you just have this perspective of like, I don't have enough money, or I wish I had more money, or things like this. Like I feel like it's kind of falling to the wayside. Like it's really not that fucking important, right? And being reborn through a new perspective as we move through the month, right? Like I feel like, again, there's this new cycle, this fresh start that's taking place where we're being reborn into new ways of thinking, into new ways of being that aren't so much about that material happiness. Because I think we're finding that material shit does not bring happiness, right? It's very interesting to me. Very interesting. Because I feel like there are a lot of people who are going to experience a death. And I don't mean that like a physical death, okay? I mean that in the sense of you were one way and now you're a different way. That kind of death, that kind of rebirth, right? I was one way before and now I'm a different way, right? And for some people, that could feel traumatic, and that can feel, you know, like a loss. It can feel, all sorts of different ways. And for others, it can be this, what is the word I'm looking for? Yeah, like almost this refreshing new beginning. It's like, gosh, this, opens my eyes to a different perspective. But I just feel that happiness that is provided by material things, I feel like for many people is going to be falling to the wayside, and we're going to be reborn through, oh, this is what's really important. Super interesting. Look at what we have here, the King of Pentacles. So here's the thing, couple of things about this card, first of all. And let me just start off by saying the King of Pentacles is typically an energy of abundance, prosperity, generosity, also known for being like the provider, right? So this is super fascinating because we have this material happiness being in the reverse, right? And this energy coming through of like material things not being so important, not being able to bring happiness and fulfillment, right? And essentially experiencing a sort of death through that, allowing that to die. But on the flip side, we have this King of Pentacles, which is about abundance and prosperity. Also, the Pentacles, as many of you may know, is the physical world, right? It can be about finances and stability, money, right? So it's interesting. Why is this so interesting? Well, if you take a good look at this fella here, the King of Pentacles on this card, he looks a lot like Jesus. Or rather, how artists have depicted Jesus, I guess we could say, right? Reminds me a lot of Jesus. And here's the thing about this, you guys, I'm not about religion. Like, I don't have a specific denomination that I align with, right? But I do believe in God, or a creator, a divine being, a higher power, whatever you want to refer to it as. And I do believe that Christ was a person on this planet at one point in time, probably several points in time, just in different incarnations. But I believe, that Christ was here, and Christ did try to teach how to connect and be led by your divine creator, or what he referred to as the Father, right? Now, religion, I feel like, has run amok with it, and you can, have your point of view, whatever way that is. But what's fascinating to me is like I'm seeing this as not putting your faith in material things to bring you happiness, right? Like money is not going to bring the happiness. Letting that die and finding that fulfillment in your true provider, right? And I don't know, I may lose followers for this. Maybe I'll gain more. I don't know. But the way that I see this is like God, your creator, will provide to you everything that you need, right? That's how I'm seeing this. It's so fucking fascinating to me because it's like letting this idea that material things will bring you happiness die and be reborn through that which can lead you to that abundance, that fulfillment, that prosperity, right? Through your provider, the divine creator, right? Which is that connection, right? Like many of us have come to an understanding that we can help to strengthen that connection with God through Christ. Like, you can't make this shit up. I feel like there's a lot of fear around that we're releasing around Christ being an active part of our life and speaking to us as divine children, speaking to us through these visionary things that, things that we experience, however it shows up. This is so fucking fascinating to me, right? And like, this is one of the more interesting readings that I've actually put out to the public, right? Versus what I've shared with my group. If you're a member of the Soul Good membership channel on Telegram, you've heard me speak about these things many times, right? But if you're not, and you've only listened to the monthly Tarotscopes for your zodiac or for the collective, or even the divine feminine, divine masculine readings I've done, then you wouldn't have seen this side of my readings so much. And it's interesting that it's now like I'm being pushed to share that, because it is right in fucking line with this visionary energy and this divine child energy, both with a capacity to envision what is not yet conceivable to others, right? As well as suggesting that special connection with the divine. I'm being pushed right now in front of all of you to share that, because this is how I'm seeing these cards, right? God and Christ are very much intertwined with what I do. And I think this is blowing my mind, right? Because I feel like more and more people within the collective are going to be pushed to do the same. People who have been afraid of being persecuted, who have been afraid of being ridiculed, who have been afraid of being called crazy or being called, whatever other name you can think of, I feel like are being pushed to come out of the shadows and to fully step into that relationship that they have with their divine creator, the universe, God, source, whatever you call it. And whether and that relationship with Christ as a gateway to God. Because in my experience, that's how it's happened. Right? I started developing that relationship with Christ through various different forms and fashions, which would likely be rejected by your mainstream narrative. But it did. It opened my relationship with Christ and thus created this very strong bond with God. So, I mean, my story is not your story, but I'm just saying, I feel like more and more people are going to be pushed to open up to that, to experience that, to put aside any preconceived notions that material happiness is what's going to bring fulfillment, because I don't feel it is. And I feel like that's going to be coming out more and more as we move through the month of December and beyond. So we have 4 cards here with guidance moving forward. The first card says hope floats, and there is a beautiful fountain on the front. There is angels with trumpets. There are angels with wreaths and what appear to be olive branches, perhaps. There's a rooster and some other form of bird, maybe like a falcon or a crow or something. And it says hope floats on the front. The message moving forward is this: Dear you, oh my, things are stirred up and change is upon you. This is cause for celebration. No need to be nervous, but know that it's okay to be afraid when faced with the uncertainties of life. The funny thing is that courage doesn't get mustered in the absence of fear, rather, in spite of it, or even because of it. Step into the unknown now. Let go of the branch you are clinging to, and let spirit take the wheel and help steer you to your highest good and most wonderful adventure. All you need to concern yourself with is choosing courage as your ally. Leave the rest up to us. There's a load of miracles being shipped your way. Remember what philosopher Joseph Campbell said: take one step toward the gods, and they will take 10 toward you. We're all doing the destiny cha 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 on your behalf. That's right. Don't be afraid to dance. Loving you always. So, yeah. Right? How beautifully does that connect with everything I've just been saying, right? This is really about being courageous and experiencing something completely different, completely unknown, right? And letting go or moving forward, even though we may be afraid. It's that push, right? And it's beautiful. So beautiful, right? Because it literally is like all you have to do is be obedient, right? It's a step forward, even though you're afraid, even though you're nervous, even though it's unknown, right? Be obedient, step forward, share your voice and the things with the world, and leave the rest up to spirit. I think this is so beautiful. So beautiful. We have with love, and there's what appears to be like a hummingbird type creature on the front. And the message is: Dearest you, we bet you must be so exhausted some days, giving as much as you do, sharing your energy so beautifully in service to the highest good, can leave you feeling depleted, like an empty well. If it feels as if there's no more water for you, the good news is we have a plan. Today, go take a relaxing bath, book a massage, read a novel, buy yourself flowers, or plant some in your garden. Make time for self care, not more work on yourself. By tending to yourself now, you are reminded to do so more often. And be sure to use a word that might have caused you anxiety in the past, but is essential for your well being now. No. Say it with us. No, thank you. No, I can't. You don't have to explain, just say no, gently but firmly. Then go for a soak. Life will wait for you to bring yourself back to center, replenished and ready for more adventure. We love you so very much. Right, so this is guidance or advice moving forward. And I do feel, you guys, that in my own experience, as I've nurtured this connection with Source, right, and I've allowed myself to experience and feel things that I didn't in the past, I've come to realize that it is not just something that I need to do for my overall well-being. Like, it's a requirement, right? And I know like they're very similar, right? Need and require, but it's like it's not just that I need to, it's that I am required to. Otherwise, my well-being will suffer. And I think this is important to understand. I think this is something that we're coming to realize more and more and more, right? And I feel like there's an element of, again, being obedient and listening to that divine creator, source, universe, whatever, when it's like you need rest, right? And I don't know about any of you, but as we started to move into December, that last week of November there, I was so fucking tired. I'm talking going to bed at freaking like 6:30 at night, waking up at, I don't know, 8:30 in the morning, and I could have kept sleeping, right? It's that literal, like, this is what is required for me to be able to integrate new ways of being, to be able to replenish or fill my well so that I can keep being of service to other people. It is not just that I need to, it's that I'm required to. Otherwise, otherwise I can't fulfill my purpose. It takes a lot of energy to be, for me personally, to be able to do readings and to be able to read energy and cards and my intuition and to hear it clearly and all of the things, like to process the things. Like I have to have that time. It's not, it's required, right? And I feel like there's an element throughout this month of us, as we move forward, becoming more and more comfortable with that, right? Like this visionary energy, you may not understand that it could take me a day to replenish my energy. You may not get that, and that's fine. You don't have to, but I understand it, right? And because I understand it and because I'm acknowledging it, I'm going to move from that space, right? Super fascinating, because again, we cannot pour from an empty cup, right? I know you guys have probably heard that before. We can't pour from an empty cup. And so in order for us to keep on doing what we're doing, to keep being the visionary, to keep connecting with the divine, we have to be willing to take care of ourselves, to nurture ourselves, right? Even though many of us have learned, based on our societal programming, nope, that's lazy. Nope, that's not okay. You aren't valuable if you need time. You know what I'm saying? Like this bullshit fucking programming that we have of working ourselves until we literally can't work anymore, which is so detrimental to our well-being, right? It's so bad for us to do. And so, choosing to follow what you feel you need is so hard, right? Add into that we have social media and cell phones, and people expect us to be available just because we're free, just because we're not working, right? Like we're supposed to be available 24 fucking 7, and that is not the truth. So I feel like there's a lot of that going on throughout the month. And this guidance or advice for us is to be paying attention to that, because if you don't slow down, if you're not listening to yourself and you don't slow down, right, there's this potential for God to slow you down purposefully, right? What might that look like? Now, I'm not a doctor. I cannot and do not give medical advice. I'm just a girl on YouTube. But it can look like God saying, oh, you don't want to slow down? Now you've got a cold and you have to stay home in bed. Oh, you didn't want to slow down? Now you've got, I don't know, a sprained knee or a sprained ankle, or I don't know, whatever, right? Because it's like, now we're making you slow down, because if you don't, it's detrimental to your health. Like you need to be able to do these things. Again, I'm just a girl on YouTube, not a doctor, but I'm just saying, pay attention. You have here as well, or rather we have here this, you are magic with what kind of looks like a unicorn, but not, like more like maybe like a, I don't even know what that is, you guys. I do somewhere in my memory. It's just not clicking right now. Okay, so I think it's like is it like a griffin? No, because the griffin has like a bird. Yeah, I don't know, you guys, what it is, but it's kind of like a unicorn. The message is this: dear you, there is only one you. And you have a unique place in the universe. Sometimes situations come up that challenge you to be authentic. And that means you have to be fully yourself and let go of being what you think others may want. Holy shit. You can't make this up. You really can't. Basically, God's saying, I said what I said, right? Like, okay. Now is not the time to conform to other people's standards or excuse me. Now is not the time to conform to other people's standards or expectations. Be proud of who you are and be courageous. Stand tall in your convictions. Being yourself is a powerful statement and will only lead you to success and ultimately happiness. Don't compare yourself to other people. Want what you have. Choose what your heart wants and know that your purpose is yours alone. No one else can claim your magic nor take it away. When you place authenticity and originality high on your list of priorities and give them a prominent place in your awareness, extraordinary things happen. Your life is a beautiful one. Love you always and forever. Right? So, again, like, I feel like there are people who are being pushed or encouraged, via that divine source, God, whatever you refer to it as, that are being pushed to move into that place that is unique to them, their reason for being here. And for some people, these are those visionaries, those people who have that special connection with the divine, those who move from a place of innocence and purity, right? Those who are willing to proclaim that vision without a regard for personal gain because it is an act of service to others, right? Again, a very unique and special place. And I feel like they're being pushed to step into this because it is what is needed as we move into 2023, right? This is not about conforming to what society says is the truth. This is about following what you know your truth to be, regardless of what other people think, or what others are going to say, or what they're going to do, right? It's so much bigger than that. You guys, this is beautiful. I love this. I'm here for it. Like 100% here for this. I cannot wait to see how the month of December unfolds. We have what appears to be like a sparrow, I believe, and it says take flight on the front. If it's not a sparrow, it's some kind of bird, but take flight on the front. And it says here, dear you, there is always more than one side to an argument, two sides, if not more, to every story, and hundreds of ways to be right, be different, be at odds, and so on. Today, we suggest that instead of looking for differences, you find a meeting place of agreement and approach this experience with understanding and compassion. So I am getting some fear here, okay? I feel like there could be some who, if this applies to you, if you resonate with what's been coming through so far, right? And say you start to share your truth, okay? And let's say you receive backlash for that. I feel like it could bring up fear within you, fear maybe of rejection, of ridicule, of being labeled in some way, shape, or form. And there is this encouragement or advice coming through to instead find that compassion and understanding, right? Knowing that you once feared these things, so much so that you wouldn't share them, right? And think about how that might impact someone who's afraid to hear it. Okay? It's very beautiful to me, this energy, because it is essentially saying, You may experience things and that's your truth. And there may be others who experience things and it's their truth, but it may be completely different from the way that you experience it. And that doesn't mean it's wrong, right? The goal is to find that meeting place of compassion and understanding. So it goes on to say, seek common ground to understand how another person thinks or how an alternate plan might be laid. Stay out of judgment too. Observe, discern, but accept that others have different stories, experiences, and journeys, and some people might refuse to remain open to another's point of view. No matter what, you've been presented with a great opportunity to explore a new way of doing things once common ground is reached. You're attracting people and situations that enrich your life and bring you wonderful things to learn. We love you so much. Right? So this final message here, I feel, this guidance that we are receiving through this final card is that, as you express these things, these visions, as you experience this connection with the divine, right? There are going to be people who are not going to understand. In this show that I absolutely love to watch called The Chosen, Jesus says to John the Baptist and to some of his apostles, there are things that I'm going to say that some will understand and some won't. Right? I'm paraphrasing. I don't think I have it verbatim there. But very similarly, like this is the message coming in is there are going to be some who resonate very deeply with what you share, and there are going to be others who don't, right? Because they've had different experiences, because they have had different journeys, and maybe they are not able to be open to experiencing things from another's point of view. That doesn't mean you're wrong. That doesn't mean that you're not valuable, that your truth isn't valuable. That doesn't mean that you should stop. It simply means that they're not going to be able to see things from your point of view, and you have the opportunity to observe from that space. You have the opportunity to explore new ways of experiencing those things, right? And to allow things to be what they are without fear, right? This is beautiful, you guys. I really hope that something here has resonated for you or that you found it valuable through the month of December. If it has, please do the YouTube things by liking, sharing, and or subscribing or commenting. It really does help the channel to grow. It tells YouTube that there could be something here for someone else that they may see as valuable or may like to see. So I truly do appreciate that. I appreciate your time and your energy. It's been an absolute pleasure to read for you for this month. Thank you so much for being here. I'm sending you the biggest hugs. I love you so much. Have an incredibly expansive month, full of courage, full of growth, full of understanding, full of compassion. I can't wait to see what you do with what opportunities you're being presented with this month. Take care of your beautiful soul, and I hope to see you on the next one. Bye.